I would call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for December 12th, 2012. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fleet?
Here.
Commissioner Anton? Commissioner Van Buren is here. Commissioner Fidesco?
Here.
Commissioner Thomas? Here. Commissioner Pill?
Here.
And Chairman Richard?
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, if you would please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. While I have you all standing, please, if you're going to give any advice or consent before or against, or for or against any item tonight, you have to be sworn in. So if you please raise your hand, that I swear that any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Okay, thank you. And I would ask that you silence all electronic devices. First item on our agenda is approval of our minutes of our November 14 meeting.
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, the minutes as presented are adopted. First item on new business is Planning and Zoning Item 12044. Cameron Kyung of the Phoenix Nail Spa regarding the property located at 15 East Burlington for the following. A, special use permit request to operate a ground floor nail salon in the B1 Limited Business District. If you would give your name and sign in, please.
Yeah, I did.
We got the sign in. My name is Eric Newton. This is Mr. Cameron Kang. I'm here assisting him in seeking his special use permit. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We're here today looking for a special use permit for Phoenix Nail Spa, which is located right over here at 15 East Burlington Avenue. The building itself has been a nail spa since 2006. It was opened by a previous owner as European Nail Spa. The name changed in 2011 to Phoenix Nail Spa, and Mr. Kang is now seeking to purchase that business and continue operating as a nail salon. Mr. Kang, I just want to give you a little background on him real briefly. He came to the U.S. on Valentine's Day 2006, became a citizen in 2011, has been working in the nail industry for 5 years, has a certificate in nail technology from a school in the city, saved up money in order to buy this business as a family business. He's 39 years old, so he's looking to get something started with his nest egg for his family. Mr. Kang's buying the salon, as I said. It's intended to be kept in the exact same use it's been in, frankly, for 6 years. The location, as I said, opened in 2006 as a nail salon, and he wishes to keep it the exact same. It really offers an affordable, I sort of took a look around the area this evening too. It offers an affordable, focused sort of beauty and aesthetic option for the area. I think it's a fine use in that it offers other options in terms of services in the downtown Westmont area. The salon has 2 full-time employees. There are 5 manicure and pedicure stations available in the salon. Although there's so many stations, it hasn't regularly been that busy. The prior owner, Annie Dew, who owned the business for the last several years, operated with 2 employees, and Mr. Kang intends to continue doing the exact same thing. I guess with that, Mr. Kang is pleased to join the village's business community, and we would ask that you support the continued special use for that building.
One question before we go to the public. This is an ongoing business right now. There's been no lapse in the business?
There has not.
Okay. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this issue? Seeing no hands, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
We have no concerns about the special use transferring ownership, but it does require a new special use, and we confirmed that because there will be no increase in employees or stations, it shouldn't impact their parking situation.
Okay. Commissioner Thomas, let's start with you, please.
Welcome, and good luck, and I support it 100%. That's all I have.
Commissioner Pill?
Likewise, congratulations on your citizenship. That's a great accomplishment, and welcome to our business community.
Commissioner Van Buren?
I understand that you're keeping the same personnel in place that are there now, or you're changing personnel?
It's actually new employees.
New employees?
Could you speak from the podium?
Sorry about that.
At home, they can't hear you.
Okay,
Sure.
There's no interruption to the business, but there is going to be a complete flip change in personnel.
Absolutely. It actually will be, come on up, Tony. It will actually be Mr. King's, I think, girlfriend will work there, and your,
Your cousin, and yeah,
Okay.
it's like family.
Okay. Good luck.
Commissioner Fidesco?
I don't have any questions. Good luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fleet?
I say the same thing. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
I myself, I wish to congratulate you on your citizenship and welcome to the community.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Okay, since we have a request for a special use, we need a reading of findings of fact, if we could, please.
Phoenix Nail Spa for 15 East Burlington Avenue. Criteria number 1, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. This business has been in operation since 2006, and the new owners will continue to operate this business per past practice. All operations are fully enclosed, and this business has not and will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. Criteria number 2, that the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. This use has existed since 2006. All operations are completely enclosed, and this use will not generate adverse noise, light, odors, or traffic, and therefore will not impair property values within the neighborhood. Criteria number 3, that the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. This business will be located within a tenant space of an existing small strip center, and the surrounding area is fully developed. Criteria number 4, that adequate utilities, access ways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. This property is fully developed and is served by adequate utilities, access ways, and other necessary facilities. Criteria number 5, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. This business will have public access from the public sidewalk along Burlington Avenue. A public parking lot exists immediately across the street from this business, and private parking spaces exist in the rear of the building. Criteria number 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. This proposed use meets all other codes and ordinances of the village, and no variances are required in conjunction with this use.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a special use are hereby approved and adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Planning and Zoning Item 12044. Item A, a special use permit to operate a ground floor nail salon in the B1 Limited Business District.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard.
Yes. All right, sir, you have our approval, and staff can tell you when you'll appear before the Village Board of Trustees on a Thursday evening.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item, Planning and Zoning Item 12045. Kenneth Brom regarding the property located at 150 West Ogden for the following. A, special use permit request to operate an automobile enthusiast center including automobile service, automobile retail sales of new and used automobiles, and an associated restaurant in the B2 General Business District. B, a zoning code variance request to permit auto sales of used and new vehicles within the required 500-foot separation from a residence district. Approximately 10 foot of separation is shown where code requires 500 feet of separation as a special condition for a special use permit. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My name is John Brom. Ken and Dave Habiger, the two proponents behind the special use, asked me to appear today because I know Ken is positioned out of Atlanta in his current job, and he's there Monday through Thursday, so he could not make tonight's meeting. And Dave Habiger was similarly called away for work. So they asked me to step in this evening and present their materials to you and answer any questions that you may have. A little bit of background on the project that they're seeking to do is that this started 5 years ago with the purchase of a Ferrari by Ken, and from that and meeting other automobile enthusiasts around the area, they came up with this idea from talking to people that there's really not an area where they can kind of get together. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is one in Joliet, which seems to be pretty far out of the way for owners of the vehicles like this who are in the neighboring communities to Westmont. The Autobahn is in Joliet, Illinois. So they had thought that, this idea would address the, I guess, desires of people like-minded to get together and be able to, work on their cars together, sell cars to one another, and enjoy the company in that regard. In speaking with them this weekend, I know that they are more enthusiastic about the opportunity of having a restaurant there that maybe is not only limited to the members of this facility, but also to the general public who share the same appreciation of all types of automobiles. It's not limited to Ferraris and that site and those types, but classic cars, maybe even some other tuner cars that people would have there that would be on display, and while people enjoying a meal would be able to walk around and look at the cars, almost like a year-round car show of sorts. I know that Dave Habinger had the opportunity to speak with a gentleman in California about a similar idea that's out there and run by Jay Leno, where he uses his car collection as a basis for a similar type of business model. I know that they went through some meetings already, and there were some positive feedback, so they asked me to step up this evening to continue the process for them.
Okay, if you could please address, sir, if you would, the request for a variance, since state law requires that you delineate your problem.
Sure. From what I've seen previous here in the materials that they supplied to me is that it's in a B2 district, but the situation involves its proximity to a residential district. That's approximately 10 feet of separation, whereas the code requires 500 feet of separation as a special condition for a special use permit. And given that there are other similar dealerships and uses along this property on Ogden Avenue, it seemed to be a reasonable accommodation for the special use.
So really from the south end of the residential district, closest end to your building, 500 foot, would probably give you about 10 or 20 foot off Ogden Avenue where you could have a legitimate business if you were to meet the 500 foot. So it's physically impossible.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, there's not much room there. Moving forward towards Ogden Avenue. That's
surely
correct.
cause that a hardship.
Yes, that would be.
Okay.
And just to comment also, this is an existing building, so the applicant's not constructing a new building, but taking over an existing building, so it's not really a self-created hardship in this sense.
Right.
Correct, it is an existing building.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public who will speak on this issue? Seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public comment. Staff?
Staff originally asked the applicants to present before the Economic Development Committee because this was such a unique proposal. And after a lot of discussion and questions, the committee gave a positive recommendation to the proposal, including the potential for a restaurant.
Thank you. John, before we start, then, I do have one question. We will, all three of these will be granting a variance for the automobile retail sales of new and used and the associated restaurant and automobile service, correct?
Right, the special use is really just required for the automobile dealership, for auto sales, and for any repairs, car work that's going on. A restaurant doesn't need a special use, but it was thrown on there just to inform the public, hey, restaurants proposed to be part of this use.
Okay, thank you very much.
And the variance is needed solely for because it's an automobile use, the setback.
Separation.
If this were another commercial business, I don't know if that
No, it's,
setback applies, although still the 10 feet would probably be too close.
right, yeah. It's a very close separation, but the variation is needed because it's an auto use.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fleet, if you will.
In the garage area, are you looking at being able to actively tune cars and possibly have a dynamometer back there to run cars up at it's to test horsepower and things?
No, I have not heard of any plans to put a dynamometer in there. It would be, there would be some car lifts in there to allow the owners easier access to work on their automobiles, but nothing in terms of any type of loud noise or testing or running, revving of engines.
Okay. One question I had.
Commissioner Fidesco?
First of all, I want to make mention that this was an automobile dealership previous to your coming in and applying for the special use. So it's not like the owners of the adjacent properties would think that there wouldn't be another dealership or some sort of business similar to that. Now, moving on, I have some questions. Is this going to be like a member? Just these are curiosity questions.
No, yes. Yeah.
Is it going to be a membership similar to Audubon? Or will there be availability for a general public to come in and lease a space such as, say, a lift?
Admittedly, the idea is fluid. In meeting with Ken and Dave, there was no discussion of allowing people other than members to, access the work site area or the garage type area.
You might want to consider that as a limited use for that. That's just something. Being a car enthusiast and being somebody who is a shade tree mechanic who really does work in his own garage, that would be a real seller. I mean, other than, it's primarily the use would be for members, but there are other enthusiasts who might want to have access to something like that, and it might be a great seller from the standpoint that it could keep the project going.
Well, I'm a shade tree mechanic too, and I'd love to have a lift rather than those little ramps to change oil under the car.
Basically, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. The other thing is, like something that I would consider is building, say an AC Cobra replica.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that, space-wise, I don't know what kind of space you would have. I know there was a Chevy dealer, but something like that, would that be allowed? If somebody, obviously it's for the enthusiast if they're a member, but if somebody's a member and would like to do something like that, because it's kind of hard to build a, replica car in your garage.
Yeah, that's true. As far as I know, there's no limit on what a member could do in there, in terms of working on a vehicle. I know there's not going to be, well, that's interesting, because in their notes, they mentioned that there was not going to be any body work or like painting or stuff like that. So I'm assuming that to the extent that they could, assemble some things in there and use the lifts and the machinery there to do that, I'm sure that they would allow that.
Okay.
But, no painting booths or any kind of bondoing or spraying down or stuff like that.
I think the concept is great.
Well, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Van Buren?
It's an unusual concept. I'm an exotic and antique car owner, so I like the idea myself, but I hope it works.
And given how much they're hopefully going to buy the property for, I think they're hoping it's going to work too.
Are you going to limit it to do you have a category of cars that you're going to try to limit the membership to? Obviously, it starts out with a Ferrari, and
Right.
where do you go from there?
Right. Again, in talking with Dave and Ken, they were pretty open to the idea of accepting all cars and makes and models. They thought there might be some limited interaction in between tuners and exotic car owners, but they're hoping that, everyone would get along and appreciate the facility and what they're trying to do there.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Commissioner Pill?
If everything goes according to plan, what kind of opening projection date are you looking at?
I know that there is still some work to be done in purchasing the property. I think that's,
Is it in bankruptcy now?
it's in foreclosure.
Foreclosure.
And I think the sale is sometime, within the next month. And then I would imagine maybe a 6-month. The property's in pretty nice shape. I was out there on Sunday kind of taking a tour of it. I think it's been built within the last 5 years, and
Yes.
it's a really nice facility. So I don't think there's going to be too much, to bring it up to speed to get to opening day.
Are you or are the business partners planning on any types of merchandise or parts sales?
They were talking about merchandise. I didn't hear them say anything about parts, but again, to the extent that, there's a demand for it, they'd love to, include some retail sales there for sure.
Is there a name chosen already?
I do not know that.
As far as the business, have they determined any type of hours yet for the business?
We have not talked hours, no. No, I'm assuming, whatever is allowed by the, business operation hours. Maybe with the restaurant, maybe they'd like to go a little bit later, but I'm assuming that the work on the, cars wouldn't be, open as late as the restaurant. I don't think anybody wants to hear, those air guns going off.
Well, that was the question. You do have some residences there, and my question is, are you going to have people who, as a hobby, are working on their car between 2 and 6 in the morning?
That doesn't sound like that'd go over too well. So no, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any plan for any nuisance like that.
I also sit on the Economic Development Committee, and it appears that there is greater interest in the restaurant idea now since that presentation. Are you able to share what type of restaurant they're looking at? I understand it's going to be contracted with an outside entity, not something run by themselves. Have they looked at a franchise or?
Ken's uncle owns the Erie Cafe downtown. At 536 West Erie Street, which is an upscale Italian steakhouse. And when we talked about it on Sunday, I said, I kind of looked over their plan. They said, that they didn't have any experience in it, but I'm sure that, that would be the first option that they would look at, given the potential clientele of the club, would be something along the lines of an Erie Cafe with assistance from Ken's uncle. I mean, Ken's my brother, so Uncle Ronnie is how I would refer to him. I'm sure Uncle Ronnie would be more than happy to, help out and provide some guidance, et cetera.
It's a perfect opportunity to look at the property immediately to your west, which I believe is also for sale.
Correct.
And a consolidation would clean up an eyesore in that area and eliminate some other potential problems. Is there any thought to acquiring the former Arby's site?
Dave, as a matter of fact, mentioned that as well, and in fact, he thought that might even be more insurance for reselling the property if this did not work out, that, maybe a car dealer would like to have that additional space out there. So that is something that I know we spoke about and he's considering.
I think from a long-range planning standpoint, that would be a great consolidation, because otherwise that becomes really a very limited use island. And
Yeah.
not much you can do with that unless you want to do something just like what was there. And now you've got the old building there still, which is going to need quite a bit of updating or demolition potential.
Right.
So it would be a nice marriage for you guys, and that would be something I would love to see that happen. Anyway, I wish you luck. I think it's a very unique concept, and I think it's really a great idea. I think it'll be well received.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yeah, I agree. You guys are working on your cars, and you know what? We need a restaurant here. I'm hungry. So,
Well, we're also
seems like it's
hoping.
natural.
Yeah, we're also hoping that, like, that the restaurant could, do better too, if we can convince the members to let the people, kind of walk around the shop and, take a look at the exotic cars or the tuners or the classics or whatever might be there.
That's all I have. Thank you. Good luck.
Welcome, thank you all.
Okay, I would have a question as the hours of operation. Now, these are going to be car enthusiasts that are going to be working, perhaps they work during the day, they want to work in the evening on their automobiles. How late in the evening is this going to be open, or would this have an impact on the residents?
I would think that they would develop hours that would not have a nuisance impact
Would this
on the.
be, John? Is there?
I'll get to that with some of the other conditions.
Okay, good. I would have a second question then as to, we're sort of giving a blanket automobile service per se. We're going to need some sort of a protection that this would not degenerate into just a general automobile resale. I mean, repair business.
Oh, yeah,
So
I would agree, that's not the intention.
lean on John to help us with that. Also, storage of automobiles awaiting repair, albeit by their owners, would that be in the lot in front of the store abutting Ogden Avenue?
No, my understanding is that all storage, and it's not even storage, all use would be inside.
So the only automobiles we would see in the front of the store facing Ogden Avenue would be automobiles new and used for sale?
And/or customers, because there's really.
And customer parking.
Yeah, because when I looked at the site, there wasn't much parking in the front. I think there's 20 I thought I saw like 20 spaces.
And then you did mention that the two gentlemen were called away on business. Is this to be like an absentee ownership? Will there be familial oversight and management of this business?
When we were at the property site, it was my understanding that Dave and Ken were going to be there operating it on site.
It's going to be like their full-time job, or you
Correct.
just said they were called away? Okay.
Correct.
Then, John, I would rely on you to carry these concerns through, or?
Yes, just for your edification, with a special use, the village board, when it gets to their level, can impose certain special conditions.
Okay.
Just to protect the village and the public safety and welfare, et cetera.
Sure.
Which is kind of unique to special use requests. With auto dealers, we have some typical special use restrictions, such as cars that are being displayed cannot be displayed on elevated racks. If you have outdoor display of vehicles, we don't like the blow-up gorillas, and streamers and balloons.
Yeah, right.
You notice as you go up and down Ogden Avenue, it's a first-class auto dealership row there.
Right,
And we like to
right.
maintain that image.
Right.
We don't allow loudspeakers, which probably won't be a concern with your operation. With other dealerships, it can be when they have their guys fetching cars all over the property and they have an outdoor paging system.
Right, sure. I've heard those, yeah.
Prohibit that.
Yeah.
Will you have vehicles for sale displayed outside, or are all vehicles going to be that are for sale inside?
You know, the for sale aspect of it, I think, is really more along the lines of like a consignment. You know, if maybe a member has a car for sale, have it there on the premises as part of it. I really didn't get the impression that it's that the sales aspect of it is going to be a huge part of it. I think it's more of a a supplemental aspect, so to phrase it, for the members there. Should they desire to sell a car, or two guys strike up a deal where they want to
Right.
sell a car, et cetera. I know that they were thinking of Fiskars was one of the names, and other car companies like that do not have a presence in the area and that are kind of a limited special type design vehicle that they were going to look into getting maybe some traction in that area, but I don't know.
Okay, I guess one of the concerns is, are they going to have a state of Illinois dealership license where they can buy and sell cars? Because certainly from the village's standpoint, and the board's going to ask this,
Yeah.
they're interested in sales tax revenue.
Yes, I mentioned that to
This
them.
is a
Yeah.
property that was used as a car dealership, and
Yeah.
they would like to know what kind of revenue will this use generate. If it's simply hobbyists coming in and working on their cars, they may love the idea, you may not have any problems, but anticipate that question from the
Sure.
board. What's the benefit to the village if there's no sales tax revenue being generated because all the sales are consignment between owners and there's no dealership and therefore no sales tax being generated?
Okay.
Well, when this gets placed on a committee of the whole agenda, we have a number of outstanding questions. Will the owners be able to be present for a Thursday night meeting before the village board?
Well, it sounds like they should be, so yes.
It sounds like they probably should be.
Yeah, it sounds like they should be, so yes, absolutely.
The garage bay doors, what direction does that face? Is that out towards Ogden?
It's,
East side.
They're on the east side, they're on a side street.
Okay, are those going to be
Service on the
open?
Also on the south side.
There's also,
Yeah, I thought there was
I
some.
thought I saw one on,
southwest corner of the building.
Well, yeah, I didn't look that closely today, but
I thought I
know I've
saw
been
one
there
on the,
before.
when you're facing the building on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, I think I saw
That's the southwest corner.
southwest
So
corner.
sometimes there's a concern about garage bay doors being open all the time, noises coming out
Sure.
of the garage bay doors, especially since we have residences nearby. There may be a restriction that the board would like to see in the ordinance that those garage bay doors are closed at all times that vehicles are being worked on.
East side. On the side.
And then with the hours of operation, I think the owners have to be prepared with a definitive plan, because we are going to put hours of operation restrictions into the ordinance in one form or another. And I think it would be helpful to have the owners' input as to what they would like to see.
Okay.
Because I think as some of the comments were, air guns popping at 2 in the morning is probably
No,
not.
I don't.
Is there, I assume then, a liquor license that would be applied for in conjunction
For
with
the
the
restaurant? Yeah.
Okay, and so everyone knows that's a separate process through the liquor commissioner, and he can impose additional restrictions on the sale of alcohol.
Sure.
That's all I have.
I think we've given them quite a bit to think about.
Well, thanks for fine tuning it for sure. I'll I'm writing down as quickly as I can. So, I know that they are, at least I know my brother, he's the president of this Bosch subsidiary out of Atlanta right now. And I know Dave Habiger was, I think, a CEO or a CFO of a company that just sold for $5 billion. So I think, you're going to get a professional, presentation of whatever they decide to put in there.
Looking forward to it. All right, since we have under item A, a special use request. Pardon? I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun here. I apologize.
he asked.
You asked.
I did ask.
Oh, okay.
I did ask. See, Wally, I'm not getting too old. Back to where we were, though. For item A is a special use request. May we have a reading of findings of fact, please?
Request for a special use to allow an automobile enthusiast center with automobile service and automobile retail sales of used and new automobiles. Criteria number 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. This use is proposed to be located where a former automobile dealership existed. All servicing of vehicles will be conducted completely indoors, and no bodywork or painting will occur on the premises. No aspect of this proposed use will endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. Criteria number 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. This property is zoned B2 General Business District and is the former site of an automobile dealership. This area is already heavily developed with similar commercial uses, and the establishment of this proposed use will not adversely affect property values or affect surrounding properties. Criteria number 3, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. The surrounding area is fully developed, and this proposed use will not impact future development of the area. Criteria number 4, adequate utilities, access ways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The property is fully developed and served by all required utilities, access ways, and other necessary facilities. Criteria number 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The property contains curb cuts from Ogden Avenue and has sufficient off-street parking. Criteria number 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. The proposed use meets all other codes and ordinances of the village, except for the setback requirement from a residential district for which a separate variance is being sought by the applicant. Criteria number 7, the proposed use meets the special conditions of Special Condition 2. This use will not cause appreciable traffic congestion or hazard to pedestrian safety. There are existing curb cuts onto Ogden Avenue, and there is sufficient off-street parking on site for this use. Criteria number 8, the proposed use meets the special conditions of Special Condition 7. There will be sufficient screening from view of vehicles awaiting service or customer pickup, and all operations will be conducted completely indoors.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. Therefore, the findings of fact for a special use are hereby adopted and approved. Under Planning and Zoning Item 12045, Item A, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees a special use permit request to operate an automobile enthusiast center, including automobile service, automobile retail sales of used and new automobiles, and an associated restaurant in the B2 General Business District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Thomas. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, since we have a request for a variance on item B, may we have reading of the findings of fact, please?
Criteria number 1, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it is located. The property was developed and previously used as an automobile dealership, and the existing building contains a 10-foot setback from the existing residence district. The applicant is proposing no new improvements to this property and did not create this hardship. Criteria number 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The unique circumstances are that the existing building was constructed to provide a 10-foot setback, and reuse of this building as an automobile dealership would be impossible without this variance. Criteria number 3, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The property was previously used as an automobile dealership. All essential operations will be conducted indoors. This new automobile enthusiast center use is consistent with the surrounding commercial uses along Ogden Avenue and will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. Therefore, the findings of fact for a variance are hereby adopted. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees, Zoning and Planning 12045, Item B, a zoning code variance request to permit automobile sales of new and used vehicles within the required 500 feet separation from a residence district.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. All right, sir, you have our recommendation for approval, and as you, as our attorney told you, best you have the other parties there for
Very good.
answer all these questions.
Should I have them, I've made some notes here, should I have them follow up with you?
They don't have to.
Okay.
I think the first point of contact would be Jill.
Okay.
If they have questions or want to fine tune some of those concerns
Okay.
and special conditions. If not, they should at least be prepared to address those for the village board.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Happy
Good luck
holidays.
to you, and thanks for choosing Westmont.
Absolutely. Have a great evening.
Good night, sir. Next item on the agenda, Planning and Zoning, item 12046. Keith Erickson regarding the property located at 11 West Quincy Street for the following. A, special use permit request to operate a performing arts studio and live entertainment venue with an associated tavern in the B1 Limited Business District. Item B, zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls. C, zoning code variance request to permit a tavern within the required 1,000 feet separation from a school. Again, sir, if you can allude to the variance hardships.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Keith Erickson, and this is Eldon Olmsted, and we would like to bring a live entertainment venue to the property at 11 West Quincy. So just high level real quick in terms of a vision. What we'd like to do is bring this venue to about a 5,000 square foot space. We'd like it to be a first-class operation, host a variety of live entertainment for Westmont and the surrounding suburbs. Things like live music, wide variety of music, plays, comedy acts, and have the place available for companies or individuals, groups to rent it out for private parties or events. We'd like it to be a destination or anchor location for downtown Westmont, help bring a lot of people into town, especially in the evenings, help them discover Westmont and what it has to offer. We'd like to work with existing downtown businesses rather than being a competitor to them. We believe that we can help them grow and thrive, and also to increase tax revenue for Westmont. I think it's included in the package, but this is just a kind of a rough, you won't be able to see it real well, but a rough look at what the layout looks like. At a real high level, what we want to do is have a stage area and then kind of a wide open floor space where we can have rows of seats in all the directions and then standing room in the back, or kind of whatever the particular show calls for, what makes sense for that show. Ample restroom facilities, a bar, merchandise area, an area for the performers to get ready, that sort of thing. So given that it's a live entertainment venue, we feel that in order for us to be able to compete in this type of business, that we definitely would need to offer alcohol to the patrons. And one of the concerns I know is that the venue would be within 1,000 feet of a school. In this case, Holy Trinity School, which I believe is a little more than 500 feet away from the 11 West Quincy building. In our view, the thing that's really working in our favor in this area is the hours of operation. So we're looking at having shows, a standard time for a show would be like 7:30 in the evening on a weeknight or on a weekend night. Holy Trinity school hours are 7:50 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. Monday to Friday. So opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of timing. You wouldn't have people coming into the venue, having something to drink and seeing a show, and then kind of wandering out and running into kids from the school. They're not going to be in the same place at the same time. And we wanted to stress that our intent is not for the venue to be a bar. It's for it to be an entertainment venue that happens to serve alcohol. From a revenue perspective, we expect the majority of our revenues to come from ticket sales. Beyond that, we'd like to offer food in the venue and to have revenue from food. We have a preliminary agreement with Dolce's to offer food availability on site. We would not intend to have a kitchen of any kind. It would be 100% take-in kind of a premise. And then I think it's important to note as well that we would be neighbors of the venue ourselves. We live in the area. I mean, we would walk to work. And obviously, we don't want something in the downtown Westmont area that we're not 100% proud of, given that we're part of the local community as well. Another potential concern is traffic. Again, I think we're helped in this area by the fact that our hours of operation will tend to be time on Cass, especially north and south on Cass, when there isn't as much of a rush. So we're not conflicting with people going to and from work or to and from school. It's the opposite of that. Another potential concern is parking. Again, due to the timing of the shows at the venue, we feel that the Metro parking lot on the south side of the tracks, as well as the public parking on Quincy, and then any kind of overflow parking needs could be handled by the Metro parking on the north end of the tracks. From a capacity perspective, we're expecting a maximum capacity for the venue of about 300 people. So if, just worst case scenario for parking, if we assume that no one takes the train to the show and no one walks to the show and we sell out and have 300 people, we can assume an average of 2 people to a car, so 150 cars for a sellout show. And again, I have another slide here in a second that kind of gives an example of why we feel that absorbing that 150 cars at the times of day we're talking about is easily doable with the parking that's available now. So let me go ahead and get to that one. So we live in the area, and we've driven by and walked by many different times in the evenings and see a lot of parking availability. But I went ahead and did just kind of a random day study. This picture's sort of hard to see, but there's a couple of scattered cars and mainly empty parking spaces, and it's the Metro lot right across the street from this building. At 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 4th, I took this picture. And then just using the spots between Cass and Adams and not going any further than that, on the south end of the tracks, at this time, 7 p.m., there were 126 parking spots available. And then when I took a walk to the other side of the tracks, and just the Metro parking, not the public parking on the north end of Burlington, and just counted the spots open from Cass again to Adams, I know that there's a lot more Metro parking as you continue down west on Burlington for the Metro spots, but just for kind of an easy walk, I said let's cut it off at Adams, and there was another 63 spots available. So if we looked at our worst case and said sold out show, 150 cars, just on this particular night that we picked, there were 189 spots open, and that's, again, assuming that no one takes the train and no one walks. And we plan to hit the train aspect of it hard in communicating to local communities about the venue, because especially if you're coming for an evening of entertainment, you have an alcoholic beverage, what better way to just relax and enjoy yourself than to walk across the street to the train station, get on the train, and get to your home without even having to worry about getting in a car at all. So another potential concern is noise. First of all, it's a fully enclosed venue, so there's no kind of noise carrying like you would in an open air type of event. In terms of what's in the area, so the venue would be bordered by the Metro station on the front, so really there's no concerns with noise in that direction. It would all dissipate by the time it got past the Metro station. An alley in the back Taco Express and Cast to one side, and the Westmont Magazine and News and Dolce's to the other side. We would intend to occupy just the first floor of the building. The building's owned by Reardon Signature Homes, and they would be the landlord for the venue. The family's supportive of the theater concept. In talking with them about what they would intend to do with the second floor, they're currently talking about office space. They had talked about like a condo type of thing before, but obviously that wouldn't work real well with an entertainment place on the first floor. So they're looking at office space for the second floor. Again, if you look at regular business hours, the types of times of day we would be having shows wouldn't conflict with somebody trying to do business in an office upstairs. From a local business perspective, we feel that Dolce's, Taco Express, Westmont Magazine, L&F Pizza, other local businesses will actually benefit from an increase in visitors to the area. Again, if we could have up to 300 people on any given night, before, after, whenever, the neighboring businesses could really benefit from all those extra people in the area. Music would typically end by 11. Any music continuing beyond that time would be acoustic, and therefore, from a noise perspective, you wouldn't be hearing anything outside in any case. Did you want to talk to this one?
Sure, I'll speak to the noise abatement. In terms of noise abatement, we don't anticipate that the sound inside will be over 100 decibels. So with brick itself absorbs 60 decibels, and in some of the walls we have double brick, so that's the equivalent of 120 decibels, which basically takes it down to a radio playing 15 feet away, but very little sound. But what we intend on doing is strategically placing 1-inch and 2-inch pure bit foam absorbers that'll absorb a lot of the sound. We've got the specs for them listed down here. Essentially what it is they'll absorb the higher frequencies more than the lower frequencies. Bass notes are 16 feet tall, so they're harder to absorb. So really what you would wind up getting is very, very little outside, if any, sound penetration.
Again, what we intend to do as well is in working with the sound company that will buy the equipment from, they'll have expertise in this area in setting up other venues in the past, and we definitely will rely on that. Again, just being neighbors to the venue, we want to be good neighbors. We want people to be nothing but happy that this place is in their town and near their home or place of business. So we're going to do what's right. If our initial plan doesn't absorb enough noise, we'll rework it so that it does. Again, from an ownership perspective, myself and Eldon would be the owners. Between the two of us, we have over 58 years of business experience. It's really kind of complements each other, a lot of different areas of experience, as well as Eldon was a professional musician for 9 years as well. We're both residents. We would be proud to help the downtown area grow and thrive. And then we talk about a lot of concerns, but just to hit on the benefits again, increase in job, anchor destination location, building up the area south of the tracks, increase in the number of visitors to downtown, especially in the evening hours, increase in tax revenue, and creation of a professional venue for Westmont groups to stay home. So Progressive Village Performance Network, great group, always is looking for some place to be able to hold their plays. Here it is. A lot of local bands, maybe aren't big enough to have places to play. We'd like to do a lot of local things with bands, with high schools, Battle of the Jazz Bands, fundraisers, meeting space for local businesses and groups. Just a real versatile venue offering a lot of entertainment options for the people of Westmont. I think that does it for our formal presentation, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to address them.
Okay, I believe we'll go to the public. I think we might have one or two questions for you. So is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak?
I think there are quite a few, actually.
Please, if you would, come up, sign in, and give us, announce your name.
My name's Kevin Field. I live at 13 South Lincoln, directly across the alley from this property. And as you can imagine, the majority of my concerns revolve around this business being a live entertainment venue and also having alcohol being served. So noise levels are, of course, a chief concern to me. I'm very concerned about potential impact to my property value, and I think the commission owes the surrounding neighborhood a thorough study concerning impact of property values before this goes much further. There's, of course, parking was mentioned here, and Mr. Erickson is talking about parking on the north side of the railroad tracks. I'm not really sure that that's something that potential visitors are going to find and take use of. I understand the hours of operation won't conflict with commuters and possibly the neighborhood, but the spaces that are available in the commuter lots are not the only ones in the area. The apartment buildings directly behind the building that face Cass have parking for their residents there, and there's no delineation of where people visiting this venue and the people who live there are going to be competing for the same spaces. There's no way to keep them from occupying those spaces that are needed for residents. There's also going to be a issue with increased traffic coming down the residential streets on Lincoln. Mr. Erickson talked about sound abatement and being a resident of the neighborhood himself. I'm not really sure what I don't know where he lives, sir. I don't know whether you're within earshot of this. Living directly across the alley, I'm expecting that it's going to impact my family and those of my neighbors, many who have young children, being able to go to sleep in the evening. So we're very concerned about the hours of operation and the noise levels and how late those entertainment acts are allowed to go into the evening. His own admission, it's not a good venue for residential occupancy. The owner of the building is no longer intending to put condos on the second floor. He's intending to have office space, and he obviously recognizes it's not going to be a nice place to live, and yet the building that adjoins that, it shares a common wall, is currently occupied by families with young children. A space of not more than 10 feet separates that building and the building to the west, and is also occupied in the second floor apartments by people. There's 2 or 3 apartments in there. There's apartments all the way coming down on Quincy. And then there's residential occupants, single-family occupancy on the block directly to the south. So we're very concerned about all those things. Security is a big issue. There's a lot of open space right across the street from this venue surrounding the railroad, the train station, that is not going to be easy to patrol unless we have almost a constant and continuous and obvious police presence. This could be a big problem for the village. We already know that other establishments that are close to the train station are serving alcohol have huge problems with the police department and continuous and ongoing nuisance and trouble calls. I spoke to a police officer the other day, and he let me know that the bar directly across the tracks is the one spot in Westmont that has the most problem calls of anywhere else in Westmont. So the possibility that people leaving this establishment are going to be traveling back and forth across the tracks to other places that are going to possibly, maybe staying open later has to be a concern. Having inebriated people crossing the tracks, moving through downtown area. Directly behind the building, there are two alleys. There's one running east-west, there's another running north-south. And patrolling and keeping track of people leaving this establishment and in the evening is going to be an issue for the police department. And I think they need to be involved and have a discussion with anybody considering approving a special use permit for this building. Obviously, again, it's noise levels, impact to our property values. The hours of operation are very important, considerations, and those are the things I wanted to bring before you today. There's a couple other thoughts that I have. The alley there behind the building right now has been unpaved. That whole section, business along Quincy there, there's been an increasing amount of pavement placed back there. And if and when a business goes into this venue, I'm hoping that the village can require some kind of permeable paving, because the runoff has just been increasing from the alley running west to Lincoln. The storm drains that are in front of my house on Lincoln are frequently challenged by heavy rainfall, and I myself have been out there at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning clearing debris from the manhole covers there in order to enable the water to flow into the storm system. So any increased pavement in the alley is going to only make that problem bigger. So I'd like that to be addressed if possible. Also, noise abatement. Mr. Erickson talked about a number of strategies that they have, and he said that if something's not working, that they'd be willing to modify or rework that. It's not clear at what point he's referring that during the planning or after they're already operating. I'm not really sure, but a big concern for me, no matter how much noise abatement you put into the building, and what they're talking about sounds like it's going to be minimal. It sounds like they're relying on the existing masonry wall and not intending to build any sound barrier walls, only installing some pyramid foam material. And I don't think that's adequate itself. But unless the building has adequate HVAC equipment to keep that envelope closed during the warm periods of the year, the temptation to open windows and doors is going to be there, and all that noise is going to immediately enter our environment. It's no longer going to be enclosed within the building. So HVAC equipment is a big part of maintaining any kind of sound, minimizing the sound. Also, I have questions of a legal nature regarding if they're given a special use permit, what happens to that? Does that transfer? If this business was to end,
No.
would that transfer?
No.
Also, liquor license, is that?
Transferable.
Not. Okay, so it'd be a whole new process for anybody. If this business should leave that building, then whoever coming in would have to go through it all over again.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I guess those are my major concerns, and I'm sure there are other people here in the room. I know a number of my neighbors are here. I'd like to speak to you also.
Mr. Erickson, would you care to comment? Your hours of operation for your liquor, your tavern, would only be while your venue's in operation, correct? You're not going to be open 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night as a tavern per se?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the couple things that I'd like to respond to that I can remember from the discussion. One, the parking for Richmond Station, I believe, is not a public parking lot, so that would not be available to patrons to use for parking. It is for residents of that building. There will be a brand-new HVAC system in this building, so the concern about open windows and doors, I mean, other than people entering or leaving, a door being open, I think that's the extent of that one. In terms of property values, I mean, I'm looking forward to this venue increasing the property value of my property. You know, I went through a refinancing exercise recently and learned that I'm underwater on my house now because my property value has dropped so far. You know, I have a lot invested in my home here, and am intending to invest a lot in this business because I believe that it's something that's, you know, missing in Westmont, and this would bring a good thing to the town. That I'm happy to hear other comments.
I believe I did see you sworn in, am I correct?
Yes,
Okay, thank
I
you.
was here. I'm Renee Sturgeon,
If you would please
the
sign
owner of
it.
Taco Express. I do have some concerns, but I'll read some in regards to the surroundings. Great schools that are 500 feet away. Have the village taken into consideration the safety of the children and families during, and I'm pretty sure you have, school hours and special events. They're going to have services, like the Christmas walk. It's coming up pretty soon. And the parking is going to be terrible. And the Taste of Westmont, and so on. There will be events where there's going to be 300 persons coming in the parking. I am concerned. I don't know when those pictures were taken, but you just go through there and see if you could, around 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you can't find a parking space in through there. And leaving this, like you said, the establishment, and it's a one-way street. Quincy is a one-way street. And they're going to go right through, what is it, Lincoln? Right in through there. And they're going through there, and they're going to go through the alley and whatever. I do have parking space in the back, and I already have problems. And they do park in my parking space. I have like 30 or 40 parking spaces there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to take those spaces. I will have tow trucks in there if they're going to use them, but that's another story. If you let them into the community, and I also they said the children they have where was I service the children family during school, and they do have a ballet dancing studio right there. And they're open until 9 o'clock. Are they going to? They're children. I think they're in the ballet class. They're children, 9, 10, 12-year-old girls. And I'm not saying, but I'm interested because he said tavern, and I was concerned. We have a lot of taverns in this community. I don't know how many taverns in the downtown area we already have.
Let's get one thing straight. A tavern is a place to sell liquor. Please correct me if I'm wrong, John. But
that's what they said, tavern here.
let's get one thing straight.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, the only time you're going to be serving any alcohol is when you have a play going on. Is that correct?
Or music.
Or music.
Any type of performance, a comedian, music act, whatever it is. I think the word tavern was used from the village legalese perspective. We have no intent, as I mentioned in my slides, to be a bar. We want to be a live entertainment venue where a person could have a drink while they watch a show.
And noise-wise, that building is joined to Taco Express. And there's, I have apartments upstairs, and so is the other establishments. They do have apartments upstairs, and it will affect them, as you well know. And the gentleman said that it's going to be benefit to Taco Express. He's bringing food into his establishment. How's it going to help Taco Express? It's not going to help me. They're not going to come in and looking for, I'm a fast food restaurant. I hope I get asked first. And people are coming into the show, they're not going to be looking for a fast food. I'm pretty sure of that. So it's no benefit to me. But I am concerned to the community. I'm concerned about the children. I'm concerned about the surrounding area. When 12 o'clock comes in and they're leaving, 300 persons leaving at one time. Can you imagine what it's going to create?
You might have to put some help on if you're going to serve 300 people.
That's what he mentioned. He said 300.
You're going to sell a lot of tacos.
They're not, well, sir, they already ate in there. He's bringing in food. And at that time, I'm already closed, sir. I do close at 10 o'clock. My concern is parking.
Okay.
No parking. Just look around you. Just come in and look in there. And then there's currently there's what is it? Alcohol Anonymous. You know that you're going against their Alcohol Anonymous, which is you're going against the interests of those support groups, isn't it? I mean, you're encouraging to come out from there.
How is that?
And to
Sir, I fail to see a connection. These gentlemen have, if they're granted the tavern a liquor permit, they are entitled to sell liquor.
Yes.
They cannot be responsible if someone
anybody else.
wants to be an alcoholic. You can't say that about them.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. You're right, sir. But the other thing that the point that I brought up.
Okay, your
I am
point?
concerned.
Thank
you.
In terms of the parking, walking up this evening around 7 o'clock, I did look across the street to the Metro parking, and it looked very similar to the evening that I counted ample number of open spaces at that time of day. So I still firmly believe there's plenty of parking to handle the number of people that we're talking about. In terms of the people living upstairs, the comment that I was making was related to having an apartment within the same four walls of this venue upstairs, which I think is a completely different story than somebody upstairs living in a completely different building. Because the noise abatement that we're planning on doing will benefit them. It won't so much benefit the people living directly upstairs.
Thank you. Who else will speak on this, please?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Robert Plowman. I live at 111 West Naperville. I am the founder and president of the PVPN, the Progressive Village Performance Network. Mr. Erickson had contacted us a while ago. We are run by the Park District. We are a theater organization who struggles each time we want to hold a performance to have a venue to perform in, because a lot of the schools during the school year is booked. Their venues are booked. I don't think that we would allow ourselves to be going into a venue that would be listed as seedy or a tavern or a watering hole or whatever whoever might want to think it that way. But what a welcome thing to have, where there's this empty hole for how many years. And you talk about property values, have you looked at the back of it? 6 feet of weeds and plywood doors, and I think having a business in there will only benefit this place. And it's something that the neighboring villages around us don't have. This would make this place a destination. People would come here for that reason only. People passing by on the train, seeing the signs, seeing, I mean, it's in a perfect place to get the attention that it needs to bring the arts here. You talk about the ballets and the dance studios and Uncle John's and his Flat Cats and Tomorrow's Alliance and all those bands, those local bands. It gives us a venue to perform in. It gives us a place, a much-needed place, and its residents performing for residents as well. And I can't imagine how anybody, would think, and he's willing to do stuff with the sound. I used to live on Burlington, and I used to have to turn my volume of the TV and close the door because of the train sounds. So if anything, he's going to probably insulate his venue to keep the train sounds out, let alone sound getting out. When I heard that your idea for the next LNF there didn't go through, I was just reassured that once I heard that you were planning here, because I thought it was a dead idea, and I just can't imagine a better thing for this downtown. And if you can get 300 people in Westmont here, God bless you. I mean, compared to what we have here now, I mean, that's what we need is traffic downtown. We need foot traffic. We need places that are going to run, bring us revenue. This is the perfect opportunity, and the way he's describing it to me is not a tavern that has bands. It's a theater that serves alcohol, and I just think you need to look at it that way. I mean, the benefits not only to the village, but to the area groups that will also be performing there. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Please, if you would, sir.
I haven't been sworn in yet. Do I need to?
Okay. I swear that any testimony I gave shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. If your name, please.
I'm Paul Qualia. I live on the 100 block of Adams Street, just around the corner from the property. First of all, I would like to say that I support the idea quite heavily. I also have 2 young children, and I'm not concerned for their safety. The hours are what you describe. I don't think there's any overlap, and again, I welcome it. I do believe this is a good feeder for people seeing the venue from the train. If you are allowed to put up some kind of marquee like in the olden days, I think that would be a great draw. I do have one concern, that I'm not going to be able to get a reservation at Dolce, because you guys are going to bringing in all these people and increasing my property value as well. Now, I'm empathetic to the neighbors and their surrounding communities, but like myself, buying on the 100 block of Adams, I understood a certain amount of traffic and noise was going to be being by this downtown when I built my house 7 years ago. I understood that. I don't believe anyone should be able to hamper your business by being there, just saying it's not there right now. I don't want my property, even though they bought their property knowing it was in an area that was commercialized and could potentially have something like this, if not something much, much worse. So I support it, and that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Who next will speak?
Good evening. My name is Jim Kish, and I live on the block also. And I just have a question. No, I'll sign in.
Which block is that?
Lincoln. I live on Lincoln.
What's the address?
21 South Lincoln Street.
Okay.
And my only question is, I was just curious if you could just give examples of like other venues and other communities that would be like samples of what you're proposing. That's my question. Western Springs.
And in terms of size and variety of music, we feel that this venue will be similar to one in Evanston called Space, which has a wide variety of music, but everything that I've read and seen about it, that the community there has just felt that it's been a real benefit. And really, I mean, in terms of the quality of acts that they have coming through there, even though I think this place would be slightly larger capacity-wise, you can still get some really good entertainment to come into a place if you can get up to, say, 300 people. So it's similar to that, but instead of just music, we would add other forms of entertainment, like comedy, like plays, just really a variety.
Just Space has national touring like Rock Acts. You're not anticipating that?
Well, when you say national touring of the smaller variety, yes. So like as an example, Space has some type of co-promotion things with WXRT and acts that you would hear on that radio station, and we would intend to do the same thing. We wouldn't expect to fill the calendar with those, but to have occasional shows like that where it might be someone that you've heard of before on the radio.
What would the calendar look like on a monthly basis?
Please, if you would, sir, just come up and give your name, and the audience at home cannot hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I have not been sworn in yet, by the way, either. I'm Jack Guasta, Guasta. I live in Naperville, 1651 Riparian Drive. And I am the owner of Victory Realty Partners, which owns 3 of the storefronts right here on Quincy Avenue on the same block, which is 19.
Okay, let's swear you in first.
Sorry.
I swear any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
Thank you.
Let me just get my phone number in here. So in any event, for the last 5 years, I've been involved with Victory Realty Partners as the managing partner with my one other partner on this property, which includes 19, 21, 23 West Quincy, and the small building around the corner, which faces your side window here, which is 7 Lincoln. In any event, a couple of issues. One, in the 5 or actually almost 6 years now that I've owned the property, I'm be very happy to have a viable entity in that vacant property right there. And a couple of positives and I guess a couple of concerns I have as well. I see some synergies here with, quite frankly, one of my tenants is the Dance Expression Studio. And you may be familiar with them. I don't know if you know Amber Alonzo, who is the owner of the property. But in any event, she owns another property in Hinsdale. And she conducts various recitals and dance things and so forth. And this might be an opportunity, quite frankly, for her to do something a little more locally here with some of her students and some of the classes. So I see some synergies there with, certainly bringing some traffic maybe to Brood Awakenings, the coffee shop, as well as maybe bank activity, people looking, stopping downtown and maybe needing to access the ATM machines and so forth, and right on the corner. So I do see some positives with that. May I ask, when is your intention of starting this venture up or being in place?
So should we receive approval in this forum, and then I guess at the village board, we would set up the company and we would work with the Reardon brothers to begin plans for the construction. So we'd plan on it being 2013. It's just a question of how quick the construction could be completed.
So there's more internal construction you're talking about for stages?
Yeah, the facing of the building is beautiful as it is. That was done several years back when it was going to be something else. So we would leave that as it is, place a sign on the building, letting people know the name of the venue, and then really just kind of building out the inside.
Okay. So sometime during the year, mid-year or so? Or
yeah, that would be our goal, probably mid-year 2013.
In my original question, which I was maybe out of line asking without being sworn in so far, but what was your plan as far as what do you envision as to the frequency of activities at the property as far as the activity that goes on nightly?
What we would like to see eventually is to build the calendar to the point where we had some type of entertainment option going 6 nights a week. But obviously, when you're first starting out, it's probably going to be hard to get there. So, I think in the beginning, it's more likely we would start with maybe 2, 3 shows a week
Do
and
you
then
folks have
build up.
experience doing this? Have you done this before?
Not running a venue, but in terms of business experience, in terms of, professional musician.
But do you have contacts, I mean, in the music business, in the entertainment business, that you can call in bands and what have you?
Yeah, we're tapped in that regard.
Okay. So ideally, you'd like to do it as much as 6 times a week, is what you're saying? That'd be
ideal.
For some it would be, for some maybe not in this room, but.
You pay rent 7 days a week.
Is there, I didn't hear you mention anything about dancing per se on the property, where you're going to have musical groups. It looks like you have a big open area on your chart here where you might have seating, but might you also have dancing going on with the singing activities?
There's the potential for that. So, a lot of it will leave up to the discretion of the artist. So depending on what type of music they play or what type of performance they're giving, they may encourage, the audience to, be up and moving, dancing. It's not a huge space in terms of like a dance floor, but potentially.
Well, with my experience, quite frankly, down in my hometown of Naperville, every week on the police blotters, I see a lot of stuff going on in downtown Naperville as far as rowdy attendance at some of the venues, if you will, that do serve alcohol and are open until, I think, 1 in the morning or something like that. And the cops are busy there every Saturday night down in Naperville, and some of you guys may know about this. So I'm concerned a little bit about the security issues after hours. And again, I'm not here per se, but I'm sure some of the residents here are concerned about that too. I'm concerned about the property nearby, especially my property nearby, any defacing of property or damage and so forth. So I'm concerned a little bit about that. Can you talk about security, if that's an issue to you guys at all? It is, I think, to some of us here.
So in terms of security, if you compare it to, say, a venue downtown that has 1,000 people, if you go to a show there, you'll often see several different security people. Being a lot smaller, we would intend to have less security, but still have some. In terms of the types of acts that we'll book, acts that lend themselves toward violent behavior won't be coming to this venue. I don't know how to describe it any better than that, but if you're seeing kind of a singer-songwriter doing an acoustic set, you're not expecting, graffiti or anything afterwards. The two don't go together. And like I said, we live a couple blocks from here. The last thing we want is to bring any kind of a negative presence to the village. We feel like this is a missing and that this is a value add, especially compared to just a vacant space right now.
Well, as I say, I see a lot of positives. I am concerned a little bit about the security. I'm concerned a little bit about the parking and what may go on behind the buildings, because behind my little section over there, the buildings, behind the dance studio and behind Brood Awakenings, we have about 6 parking slots. And all my tenants know these 2 are yours, these 2 are yours, these 2 are yours. Mm-hmm. But in the dance studio, I know goes on sometimes until early evening hours. But I'm concerned about people just coming in and just jumping in and pulling into those spots. And I think I'm going to have to put up more signage on the facades of those outside walls. My concern is in that area as well.
Right. I think the best we can do there is to inform people what the appropriate parking spaces are, encourage people to walk or take the train to the venue to reduce the amount of parking that's needed. But I don't see where we could control if somebody parks where they're not supposed to, so that I completely understand what you're saying.
I'm raising that as a potential issue that I have. And again, I know you said you have some kind of at least an arrangement with Dolce right now for serving of food. So it is never, or it's not your intention at this point in time to really be, per se, doing a restaurant or a restaurant venue in there as well, other than the bar activity. Really, that's the only liquor and soft drinks, I guess, you're going to be selling. Is that right?
Right, but we like people to have the option of having a full evening in the space. So, say the doors opened at 6:30 for a 7 o'clock show, that somebody could come in, arrange for a panini to be brought in from Dolce's, have a beverage, relax, watch the show, go on
So
with
this
their
would be kind of
evening.
a carry-in food thing?
Yes.
Think about it more
yeah.
along the lines of, you go to a venue and you have food vendors there.
If you could
It would be the same thing.
get up to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
The home
Yeah.
audience cannot hear you.
No. It would be the same thing as if you go to the United Center. They have food vendors come in there. We would have a limited menu that would be supplied by Dolce that just happens to be, right around two doors down. Okay, and so as a consequence, you need to think of it in those terms, not in terms of you have to prepare the food on site. Preparing the food on site is not what our strong suit is, and we don't want the additional hassles of having to deal with all the things and regulations that go along with restauranting. And so we see it as a win-win for Dolce's in that somebody can order something, and okay, so it comes over from there and gets served and gets taken back. It's a simple business
Yeah, I
model.
mean, if you've got it worked out, far be it for me to question that. But I guess I am almost encouraging more food sales in the property, because to me, it keeps people there, and maybe they hang around town a little bit more. And I think it's a good thing. The more traffic that we have downtown, obviously, the better.
I think
But I wanted to raise those concerns again about the security issue. I'm concerned about late night security, and a little bit on the parking issue as well.
Okay.
Okay.
In terms of the food, I think our intent initially is to keep it simple, to kind of get a process down and make sure it's working well, and then potentially broaden it from there. To be honest, I completely disagree with the comments earlier about not selling additional food at Taco Express. I'm someone who likes to have an evening out and not spend an arm and a leg. If I'm coming to a show at this place, I would definitely stop and have a taco or burrito before I headed over.
Thanks. Please.
I need to be sworn in. My name is Jason Peakard, 31 East Quincy Street.
Okay, I swear any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Dun, 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 dun. All right, like I said, my name is Jason Peakard. I live over 31 East Quincy as opposed to West Quincy. I do get mail for the village quite often. And as a resident and as a musician who plays in bands, I mean, this is heaven. When I saw the talks of this happening, it was almost too good to be true, because there's nothing like this anywhere. I have to go to the city if I want to play a gig. Ironically, I've been up to Space. A friend of mine's the engineer there. It's a gorgeous, prestigious place to play. I mean, they have national acts from acoustic to poets to the occasional rock and roll band. And I think it's kind of interesting to listen to everyone's perspective on what type of stuff is going to happen here. I feel like everyone thinks it's going to be a bunch of heavy metal, troublemakers who are drinking and throwing bottles and stealing parking spaces and being a nuisance on our community, when it's probably just the opposite. In regards to music, I mean, anyone with young kids, one of the most popular things right now is the School of Rock. I mean, every community up and down, the whole city of Chicago, every suburb has a School of Rock where everyone's little kid gets to go play guitar and the drums and the keyboards, and then they need to go play a concert somewhere. And somewhere like this would be such an ideal spot for, I think there's one right over in Downers on Fairview, for them to come over into Westmont, bring their family, their friends, and put on a show and have food and see Westmont. The concern for the community is really these vacant buildings and all the businesses that are leaving town. I mean, everyone's closing or opening soon, and then they never open. And something like this, you could. I mean, Uncle John's Music is a great member of the business community. He's a plethora of promotion for a place like this, not only to bring acts in, but to cross-promote, to have him host stuff here. Lithoprint up on Naperville there. If you need posters and flyers for concerts, I mean, you have a local, the possibilities are endless. And in regards to the noise, from playing in bands for 15, 20 years now, some of them really, really loud bands, there's a lot of it's almost a science, soundproofing. And I've been in venues where you can go outside the door and shut the door and not hear a thing, when inside your ears will ring the second you walk in. So, I would completely trust that whoever sets up the soundproofing, it would be more than adequate, not only for the back, sides, front, but if it wasn't, there's real easy ways to reinforce that. It'd be a cost, obviously, but, and again, I just pictured, you could have stand-up comedy, you could have plays, you could tie in with the schools, so many functions up at Manning. It's standing room only, 3 deep. Imagine if you could have the Manning Talent Show and combine it with a local restaurant that could serve food to it. And it's just win-win across the board. So I just really hope that you guys and the board and the village and everyone really embraces this, because there's nothing like this out there. And I think people would come and, they'd park where they have to. And anything that's bad, if parking's a problem, I'm sure it would be, enforced. If there's crap going on in the alley, I'm sure it'd be enforced. If there's stuff happening out front, someone's going to call the cops. Those little speed bumps along a business like this, I'm sure would get ironed out. And if they didn't, well, then these guys would have to close up. But I really don't foresee something like that happening with something like this, especially in a nice little town like Westmont. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your input, sir. Who else will speak?
Was already sworn in. My name is Dee Adams. I live at 26 South Lincoln Street, which is right down the block. I just wanted to say there's a lot of discussions here, and it seems like everyone is inputting we want the business and it's just going to be this way. We want the business, it's going to be this way. But I really feel like, for clarity's sake, we need restrictions in place. Obviously, personally, I'm concerned about the noise level. I'm concerned that we already have a lot of alcohol, people drinking and hanging around the town. Is that really going to benefit our community? As far as the venue, aside from the alcohol, I think it's great. We have a lot of people walking around with nothing else to do. I think they need something beneficial to do. I think the family needs something beneficial to do. As far as serving the alcohol with no food, I think that's a problem that is a big concern. People don't handle their alcohol real well, and I don't know that it's Westmont's responsibility to help them do that. As far as the facility operating outside of the school hours, yeah, the school might not be operating, though they do have special events, but it doesn't mean that the children don't live here still and that they would be exposed to the activity. So my thought would be, I'm all for helping Westmont thrive. I think we need to look very specifically at the businesses that we're encouraging to bring into Westmont, because that's gonna affect all the other businesses in the area. I'm all for supporting good business, but I think we need to be real clear. You say, oh, well, if the noise isn't enough, if we're not protecting the noise enough from the neighbors, we'll change it. Well, what assurance do I have? What assurance do the other neighbors have? How can any of us really control what people are going to do when they're drinking? We've had a lot of problems here in Westmont with people and their alcohol use being inappropriate. I know I walk my dogs a lot of time. I have a professional pet sitting business, and I walk across Quincy. Cars don't stop there. If people are out drinking and they're crossing that's going to be something we need to add a lot of security on. So, personally, I think we have some crime in the area, and I walked out my door one morning and I found some guy drunk and hanging out behind my house. If we have good activity in the area, that's going to help. If we're going to add to the bad problems, I think it will decrease property values. And if you're 2 or 3 blocks away, that's a whole lot different than if you're in the same block. So I really would like to see, more restrictions and more explanation as to exactly what we're going to have, rather than just the vagueness. Thank you.
Ms. Adams? Dee Dee?
Yes.
If I might ask you, are you in favor of the taste of Westmont?
You know, I am in favor of it because it helps our community. It is a noise for us, and I think it's once a year, and the neighbors in the area put up with it for that reason. We're not looking at something that's happening 6 days a week, every week.
You realize that we allow open liquor on the street in
I do.
close proximity to the children for all these days?
And that's 1 day a year,
No, it's 4 days a year.
4 days a year.
Okay.
Unless it gets rained out. So, you know, I'm willing to make concessions, and I'm not against the facility. I just have a lot of concerns that decisions are being made in Westmont. Okay, fine. I just think we need to be really careful and put restrictions on exactly what we want, not just saying, oh, my idea is it's going to be acoustic music, and people who come to acoustic shows are not going to be ones that paint graffiti. Well, maybe not, maybe so. Maybe there's not a restriction. Maybe they can have whoever they want in there. You know, I think it's a great idea, but I think we need to be really cautious.
Okay, I see one thing going here that I don't like. Everybody's alluding to drunkenness, rowdiness, etc. Please understand, the only liquor that will be served is when there is a venue going on. A play is being played, a dance is being danced. When the play is over, the music is over, the doors are closed, no other liquor is being served. So let's lay off the drunkenness and walking all over the streets, because it's really not applicable in this.
Could I just say that, you know, it appears that the venues every night is going to be entertainment of some of the areas that you mentioned. And if it's going on to 11, 12 o'clock, then the alcohol would be served into those hours. So it could be that people are going to be real responsible. You know, it may be. I just know there's other areas in Westmont where that's not the case. The noise is something that I would personally like assurance that if the neighbors are having problem, that you will do something about it. You know, more than just your word. Not because I distrust you as a person. I like to trust people, but I know that if you don't have a financial interest in it personally, a lot of times the neighbors are ignored. So, you know, that would be something I would like to
I'm going to
consider.
ask the attorney that what could be done, John, as to operating hours during the week.
Well, again, it's a special use, so the board can impose special conditions on the type of operation, and including hours of operation. So there could be, you know, like more extended hours on the weekend. That's going to have to be the dialogue I think you have with the village board, because that should be in the ordinance. And I think there should be a reasonable stop time for performances, because, you know, we maybe even want the police department's input as to that. When do the problems actually start? Is it usually after midnight when shows are going on and people have been there for 5, 6, 7 hours? Yeah, potentially. So that is I think a valid concern and something that could be addressed in the ordinance. Something else is they would be applying for a liquor license, which the granting of which, of course, isn't assured, and that's up to the liquor commissioner and up to the village board to make a license even available for their use. But again, the liquor license could have additional restrictions, and if there's instances of over-serving or instances of, let's say, fights breaking out in front of the venue that are alcohol-related, there's a hearing procedure, and the license can be suspended or revoked, or fines could be issued. And that is a strong deterrent for establishments to, you know, keep on the straight and narrow.
And is that something that a resident could bring to someone's attention, or is that something that the police department would have to proceed with? Or
Yeah,
how
the
would that
police
be handled?
department would have to be notified when something is happening. So if there's, for example, a fight outside the venue, someone would have to immediately call 911. If someone is stumbling down the street overserved, someone would have to call 911. If someone's drinking and driving, you find out where they came from, it's up to the police department to investigate that.
And then once the police investigate it, then the liquor commission would proceed with perhaps not renewing or putting further restrictions on their liquor license. Is that the case?
Usually the remedy is if a violation is found after a hearing, then you can either fine them, you can suspend the license for a period of time, or you can actually outright revoke the license.
Thank you.
Okay. just to get everybody back on track again, this board this evening, the only things we are considering is, one, whether to recommend a special use for these people to have a performing arts studio. Second is a zoning code variance to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces, which the gentleman had pretty well talked about. The third variance is to permit a tavern within the required 1,000 feet. The one things we don't have the purview, and it's really none, we can't adjust, is hours of operation, how long the tavern's going to be open, if they're allowed to serve alcohol, the types of venues they can have. We have no say-so over that. That's when you folks should go before the committee of the whole and make these types of concerns to the Board of Trustees, who are the decision makers in the village. Does that help anybody and everybody? But let's...
Excuse me, assuming you're recommending, or the commission is recommending going forward with that recommendation, when would that happen?
We believe we'll be scheduling it with the recommendation the first week of January. And so what you can do is give me a call, and then we can let you know. And if you've put your contact information on there, we can send you an email or give you a phone call to let you know that the meeting is going to happen.
Thank you, Jim.
And we'll also be including this discussion to the village board so that they're aware of the concerns from the community.
If I can chime in also, Chairman Richard, you asked about what kind of conditions can be imposed on this. We can allow for periodic noise decibel level testing outside of the premises if we receive complaints. And, noise is supposed to be kept indoors. So if it's a problem, we can test it. I think it's something that was discussed when the recording studio wanted to go in, and they talked about some real extensive soundproofing, and we talked about getting out there with the decibel meter and reading that. And we've done that. We've done that for manufacturing operations. And if it's a problem, then, and we, our code actually prescribes what sort of decibels can be emitted from an operation. The village would have the right to go back to the owner and say, fix this problem.
Excuse me, I have one more question. I was wondering,
Again, give me your name for the
I'm
whole
sorry,
morning.
yes, my name is Robert Plowman. I'm at 111 Naperville. Just wondering, as far as the ordinance with the school being 1,000 feet, it's my understanding that there are a couple of places that already serve alcohol that's either about the same or closer, right?
There may be some grandfathered facilities. The state law is you cannot hold a liquor license, and there's no exception to this, within 100 feet of a school or a church. So they're outside of that. We have our own ordinance locally that says 1,000 feet from a school, which is quite a bit more than the state requirement. But again, this can be varied, and any existing establishment's grandfathered.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up comment on the noise. I think it's addressing a question that Mr. Field had about the when. So I mentioned if things didn't seem to be, if we didn't seem to be controlling the noise as much as we desired to, when would that happen? And our intent is to do that before we even start having shows. So the venue starts being constructed, we get a band in there, we play, and we see what's happening outside with our existing noise suppression strategy. And if it's not working, we're going to supplement it, we're going to fix it. That's the intent. And I completely understand the comment about, well, you're just saying that, how can I trust you? And it's true. If you don't know me, it's hard to trust me. But if you did know me, I think that you would, because I'm not a person that just says things for the sake of saying them. That's what we intend to do, is to keep the noise from exiting the building. Like Mr. Picard said, it can be done. It has been done in many venues in the past. We intend to do that as well, so we're not disrupting local residents.
Who else will speak, if they will? I swear any testimony I give this evening shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Renee Brower. Good evening. I am a resident just in the same block, too, at 36 South Lincoln Street. I actually do support this venue, along with the conditions of ensuring that we have the check on noise volumes at the decibel levels that are coming out, something that's actually written, and you look like a nice guy. But, you know, just saying. It would be nice to have something in writing where we have that assurance, where I have a newborn, so I plan on living here for a really long time. I don't want to have to deal with you know, loud bands. I love the idea of going acoustic after 11 p.m. I think that's kind of cool, honestly. If that could be something that's written into the terms of, I don't know what sort of the terms of the agreement. And also the other concern is parking along South Lincoln. Yes, there is tons of parking on Quincy. There's tons there. So, but me, I don't know if I'm going to want to walk from, frankly, Adams to your venue. I'm going to want to walk from outside of Mr. Field's house, or frankly, outside of 36 South Lincoln, which is much closer. So I don't know if there's a way to control parking along South Lincoln where it's just for residents, or if there's something along, I don't know if there's some way to do that.
There could be. I think there would probably have to be a problem first before the village would consider some system like you see in downtown, which is resident-only parking stickers.
That's fair. That's totally fair. I do think it's a welcome addition. I'm not sure. I feel like when you talked about the drinking and if it's going to be plays and it's going to be dancing, yes, but there's also going to be bands and there's also going to be, you know, that type of crowd, and that, you know, and I'll be there. I mean, trust me, I'm walking. So, you know, so it's not just all about dancing and youth performances, and it's also going to be bands. So I want to make sure that we have those controls in place also. But I love it. I love the idea. I think that the empty building and the empty storefront has been an eyesore since I've moved here 8 years ago, and I'd love for something to be in there, and this looks good to me.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Paul Quaglia again. Just thought of a few more questions while sitting here listening to the dialogue. It seems like most of the opposition you guys are getting has nothing to do with your business. It's around having patrons visit your establishment, you know, a couple hundred people, parking in the area. I'd ask maybe you guys, what is that space intended for? What was it zoned for? Did it ever intend to have this many people? So it seems like your hours are more reasonable than other businesses that could be open up from sunrise to sunset and really interfere with the schools and everyone with traffic and everything else. It seems like it's a lot more controlled. I'd ask those who are opposing, I understand the noise argument, though I discount it with a train station running until 1 o'clock in the morning right across the street. What the opposition is to this specific business, not to any business operating that gets multiple patrons in that spot.
Okay, Wally, would you care to?
That was originally approved, a restaurant was approved on the first floor of that. And I don't know whether it came to the point of operating with a liquor license, but I'm certainly that was the intent at that time. And it never came to pass, but it was approved for a restaurant.
Do you know what the maximum occupancy of the restaurant was going to be?
I don't recall, but it's been a little
It was both 9 and 11 West Quincy, so it probably would have been a substantial number. I don't know about 300 because restaurant seating would probably be more spread out. But I was here at that time also, and there was an implication that an alcohol or liquor license was going to be sought, but it was going to be the double facility.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Kevin Field again. Originally, I've been here 15 years, and when I moved into my house, there were only retail businesses along Quincy here. I think there was a carry-out Chinese restaurant of some sort. I don't think they even had tables inside. And the location of this building now, there was a vacant lot and a sewing machine retail business. So there wasn't anything of this type in the neighborhood. There was no precedent for having live entertainment late into the evening with this many people involved. And I have to emphasize again, there's a fundamental conflict with, I'll have to ask Mr. Erickson again, how do you envision bringing food into your establishment? How is that going to travel between Dolce's and your doors?
So Dolce's has, from talking with the owner, has a license to do carry-out.
No, I'm asking how is that food physically going to travel between his establishment and yours?
Excuse me, sir, but we're not concerned with about
it is.
carrying food in for this. This has been discussed.
No, it impacts what happens with the noise.
Will you please let me talk?
Yes, sure.
This is getting a little bit redundant.
Well, you're interrupting us, so I apologize
yes, I am,
for
because you're
interrupting
getting
you.
off track.
No, I
You're not
don't
talking
think I
about-
am, sir. I have to disagree, because what I'm trying to address is the number of times and the frequency with which his back doors will open. Is that food going to be traveling between Dolce's back door and his back door, or is it going to be coming through the front doors? Because if it's going through the back doors, it's going to be constantly broadcasting all that noise into our homes.
Will you please understand one thing? That has nothing to do, the serving of food, carrying over from Dolce's to
No, but
this
mitigating
has
the sound
nothing-
and our property values
is when-
is your purview.
Your wife must be hard to get a word in edgewise, because I cannot. Will you please let me talk?
Yes, sir.
This special use is to operate a tavern, a zoning code variance for street parking, and the entertainment venue, nothing about food. If you want to address that, do it with the village trustees who have the wherewithal to control that. We do not.
That being said, I think he's asking primarily about noise.
Yes.
So I think that's a fair question. Not so much how's the food going to be packaged or something like that, but is it going through the back door is your question.
Exactly.
I think it's a yes or no question.
Exactly. And with that number of people in his establishment, I expect that to be fairly frequently, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, at least. I mean, if people are ordering food while they're in his building and expecting it to be brought over from Dolce's, that door is going to be open all the time. In fact, I imagine it's going to be propped open and left open so that they can get in and out easily.
That's certainly something the ordinance would prohibit.
Okay, that's the point I needed to make. I'm sorry for, I didn't want to have a, confrontation with you, sir, but I was trying to make a point.
No, you haven't had a confrontation with me, not whatsoever, sir. We're just wandering off track. I want to stay on track.
Let's make one more quick statement. In regards to the 300 people that this is going to hold, I wish these guys all the success in the world. I highly doubt that every single show is going to have 300 people. If they get 50 people, they're going to be lucky. If they get 75, it'll be a pretty good night. 150, the place is packed. 300, we might want to have an extra cop on duty. I mean, I'm just saying, I wish you the best. If you have 300, 4 nights a week, it's going to be the most spectacular, successful theater in the suburbs of Chicago. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to be 300 people all the time. So just wanted to.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who will touch a new subject?
Can I close? My name is Audrey Payne. I live at 29 South Williams, and I would just like to implore all of the village commissioners, trustees, whatever your titles are, staff, residents, to work with the neighbors and figure out a way to allay their fears and create roadblocks to all of this kind of stuff and give this village the chance to make some progress. Admittedly, we are 20 years behind everybody around us. And Naperville has a great police blotter every week.
One of the reasons I invested in this community.
You got
I
a great
expected it
police
to
blotter
happen.
every week. We have $40 being taken out of people's coin purses in their cars. With that amount of success comes some amount of, and that's our police department's job to take care of that. I implore the village to let us do something that will bring us to maybe only 18 years behind the times. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other new ideas to be brought forth? Questions? Okay, we're going to close public comment. We'll start with the staff.
I wanted to clarify that we're required legally to notice for the tavern because there would be alcohol sales within the 1,000 feet of the school. But Mr. Erickson stated to us previously that his intention was for the bar to be ancillary to the theater. And as you noted, it would not be open without the theater itself. And we've also asked for the sound mitigation to be addressed at this meeting, which Mr. Erickson brought, and we would include that in the board materials so that it could be included with the any final ordinance.
Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Thomas.
I'm glad that the police department is represented tonight. Whether you can make a comment to this or not, I don't know. As far as police manning you know what taverns are open, their hours of operations in the downtown. You know your past problems with said institutions. The police department mans a certain amount of people for a certain amount of hours. Not being a police officer, I would not think that because this theater is started up, you would have to create more of a manpower situation. You have to maybe wait and see what happens. I don't know. But I would imagine that you would be able to testify before the commission, before the trustees about what you felt was needed if you thought some increase was warranted.
Sure, thank you. My name is Jim Gunther. I'm the Deputy Police Chief. I'm also the Deputy Liquor Commissioner. So I hold both titles, so ask away. To address the manpower issue, I think that the easiest comparison to make would be the fact that the village has a substantially larger daytime population than it has a nighttime population, and we have the same staffing levels for both. We run 6 patrol officers a shift. In the daytime, we have more people in the station that can come out and assist due to the increase in daytime population, but I don't foresee any needed increase. We handle the streets and the calls for service pretty well. So it would take an astronomical impact for us to address that, and I don't foresee that happening.
And you had several ways to address incidences as they come up.
Sure.
As in police action, liquor, control of liquor license.
Sure. The liquor licenses are primarily used at night, between restaurants, bars, what have you, and we handle those quite well. So I don't foresee adding one more, adding 300 people or 150 people in the downtown area as being an issue. With the commuter station, the morning and afternoon commute, 300, 400, 500 people moving back and forth on the streets, on the sidewalks. We're used to seeing it. Geographically, the railroad tracks at Cass Avenue is the only place for a squad car to go from north to south. So my officers better be going over those tracks and in this neighborhood quite a bit. So, if there's an issue, we'll take care of it.
Thank you. As far as parking for the residents in the neighborhood, people are going to go to this venue and they're going to take our parking spots and that. I think that, my opinion, that's up to the landlord to put some signs up. And towing service is this and this. It's going to be $500. Boom. If an open spot is open spot unless there's signage there, in my opinion. Apartments that are in B1 business districts, that's why they have businesses there. And you can't go have an apartment and expect it to be the same for 15, 20 years and no advancement and no development. You cannot assume that. Well, you can, but you'd be incorrect. And I think the signage on your building that's visible from the passing trains, that's gold. As far as, because I see stuff like Western Springs Theater Group as I pass Western Springs. That's what made me think of you when you came up and your group and that. I'm wondering if that was a similar thing. And it just screams Westmont and Wynn. Okay, that's all I got.
Commissioner Pill?
Thank you. I've sat on this commission for just under 10 years now, and we've had our share of front porches and driveway expansions and things like that. Tonight, we had an opportunity to hear two widely divergent proposals. I'm speaking about this proposal and the Automobile Enthusiast Center, both of which have an opportunity to set Westmont apart from the surrounding communities. I think they're unique, they're excellent. It reminds me back when we first heard the proposals for the standard market. We continued that hearing several times. The room was filled in excess, and I see nothing but good that has come out of that. And while my crystal ball is no clearer than anyone else's in this room, I still think that both of these proposals have a wide opportunity to bring not necessarily fame and fortune, but certainly respect for our community and continued development. We've heard most of the opposition from people who live in close proximity, and there's no question that there's the possibility that some of these fears could come to pass. However, I think with prudent writing of the special use permit and the fine reputation that our police force has built, I think that these could be mitigated. You know, a downtown location, I'm talking about a residence now, carries with it certain inherent idiosyncrasies. You're going to have a little bit different traffic. You certainly have the noise from the trains here. It's rare, I live on the north end of the town, it's rare that we hear the trains. It's got to be one of those clear, crystal clear nights with the wind just right. You're going to have periods of traffic where you've got people getting off the trains, as Deputy Chief Gunther indicated to us. But one of the benefits that I won't have is you'll be able to walk and enjoy this venue, which is a nice thing about living in downtown. You've got the restaurants and some of the other businesses that we have, and this brings something that we're lacking. As far as questions for the business owners, how will you go about booking the acts? You touched on that earlier, but really didn't get into any specifics.
Sure. Well, there's a variety of different ways that acts can be booked.
Please, if you would,
in front of the microphone. There's a variety of different ways. One of them is we'll partner with other venues, like if an act is, has come into town, and we have an opportunity to possibly book them on a different night. You know, if an act happens to be in town, we'd work with a variety of different booking agents, and would also enable people to access our website when we get the website up and running, and present themselves to us. So in terms of booking acts, that's not really going to be much of an issue.
And ticket sales?
Ticket sales will probably be online. You know, our thought is to make that an online type thing.
Have you given any consideration to classic movies?
No. Keith may have given a consideration to classic movies,
yeah,
but
we're not there yet.
We're not quite there yet.
Different type of equipment, I would assume.
Yeah,
also.
that's the main thing, is that we're already going to have quite a bit in terms of investment in sound equipment. So yeah, the whole movie thing is, maybe if we're wildly successful, we'll have plenty of money to go for the movie equipment too, but probably not at the beginning.
Popular at the Vic, they have like the Bruin View and things like
yeah.
that do kind of well sometimes.
In terms of the booking, I would call it from professional to casual, because on the one side you could work with professional talent bookers to get like acts you've heard of, bands that go around to a lot of different places, and on the other hand, I mean, when we're talking about local activity, the extent of booking Progressive Village Performance Network is probably a phone call from myself to Mr. Plowman, and we find a date on the calendar. So it runs the spectrum, I think, in terms of how that'll happen.
Yeah, it depends on the nature of the act.
Great. Well, I support this idea based on what I've heard tonight, and I know that our comments and the comments of all the residents tonight will be passed on to the village board, many of whom who watch this either live or on tape. And I know our village attorney will also pass on many of those concerns. And I definitely think we have to look at some things as far as hours of operation and things like that, but I think they're all things that could be worked on together, and we can end up with something that's mutually beneficial, both to the village as well as to your business interests and to the residents at large. Thanks for your presentation tonight.
Commissioner Van Buren?
It sounds like a really good idea, but it sounds like you're kind of feeling your way through this thing, and so it's kind of hard to tie it down exactly how you're going to book, who's going to be there, what's going to be the predominance of acts and so on. So, and from the musician in the back who is looking for a venue, I'm sure that there's a lot of that going on in this area. So that it probably, and especially if you're going to play initially on local talent. But I found the questioning by the gentleman from Naperville who owns the property to be insightful in that he's already been there, done that on some of these things, both in experience in Naperville and being a landlord here. So so cause you to think about some of the things that you really have to tie down in order to make this palatable to everybody around you. And I certainly support it. I think it's a fantastic idea, but we're going to have to be careful on how we set it up. That's all I have.
Commissioner Fidesco?
I just had a question about the performances. You talk about booking acts, but you also talked about plays. Normally, plays are, for a set period of time. They're not just one night. Plays typically run from as short as maybe 3-4 nights to a couple of weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks. I mean, is that something that you guys would be considering? And, there are a lot of theatrical companies throughout the metropolitan area, and, they look for places like this. I actually attended a performance a few months back in Chicago in a very similar situation. And that's what made me think, what that run was like 2 weeks long. Are you going to be considering things like that, with professional or, companies?
I think the extent of where we're at with plays right now, I mean, we came into the concept more from a music perspective, but we are definitely open to and would appreciate, having local play groups come in and perform. And if that proves to be something that's, makes the venue just as successful as a music act, would we be open to having more plays? Absolutely.
I mean, would that impact your business model? Because, I mean, you talked about acts, if you had a theatrical company that wants it for 2 weeks to put on a performance, that's going to basically block you out for 2 weeks for their particular show. And then, I mean, obviously you're going to make money, they're going to make money, but,
right.
But that's going to tie you up, and it's going to.
In general, tying us up is what we want to happen, whether that's through a play or through a music act or through a comedian, basically all of the above. We'd like to fill the calendar with variety, including plays that would be multiple nights.
Okay. Well, that's the only question I had, because I regular performances I can understand, comedians and musicians. So okay. Very good.
Commissioner
Thank
Fleet?
So let's say you open your doors an hour before show, and you have a really good hot night, and you're looking at 100 people coming in. You've got a door that's roughly 36 inches wide, or standard door. Well, first of all, is it ADA? Can a wheelchair get in?
Right now, the extent of the build out on the inside is it's kind of like broken up concrete, and then the walls are just old 1920s brick. But it appears that from the sidewalk level where you enter the door up to where I would call like the main level floor, where it's just flat the rest of the way, is already ramped. So if that's what you mean?
There would be handicap access.
Yeah. And handicap restrooms as well.
Okay, and how would you look for, I hate to use the word crowd control, but how would you handle your patrons coming in, trying to get everybody loaded in within 45 minutes, say? Can you get?
Yeah, I think for the number of people.
You know, with lines down the street, or, you know, how would you look at doing it?
The way that the venue's set up, especially when it's cold out, I believe that we'll be able to pull a number of people in with kind of like a roped area while we're dealing with tickets and so forth to get them into the main part of the venue. So, you know, even if many of the people arrived at the same time, I think, you know, we're taking care of the majority of them inside. And like Mr. Picard said, the likelihood of us getting like upwards of the 300 very often is, you know, that's not going to happen all the time. I mean, we just wanted to present, especially for the residents, what would be the worst case in terms of their fears on crowds and parking, et cetera. We certainly hope to sell out occasionally, but it's not going to happen frequently.
And lastly, what sort of signage might you be looking for? You know, you've talked about being able to see something maybe from a train, like when you take the train in. You know, we've got some good ordinances in how we do signage downtown. What would you look at so that someone could see where you are?
In terms of design for the sign, that's open at this point. But one of the main goals is definitely for commuters, you know, going by on the train to be able to easily see it. Because I think that's one of the huge selling points. And if you could have a bunch of potential customers for Westmont downtown businesses getting off at the train when they normally wouldn't, I think that'd be a great thing. So the sign's kind of to be determined, but I mean, we would obviously work within the limitations in terms of size and so forth.
No further questions.
Okay, I do have a few questions. First off, the gentleman that lives, I believe it's 21 South Lincoln. No, I'm sorry, the other gentleman in front of you?
13.
13.
Hey, buddy. I live at 13 South.
Yes, sir.
Kevin C.
Kevin, I apologize to you, Kevin. I felt you were getting a little off track, and if I was too brusque with you, I apologize.
Sorry for the exchange also.
1 second, please, if you, no, please. Yep, I'll give you a chance. Kevin, attorney has advised me that you asked a question. He said it's legitimate, so I will ask Mr. Erickson about the delivery of food. You wanted to know, so would you please answer that question for the gentleman?
So the food portion of the plan is a little on the earlier stages because we wanted to feel more confident that it would be likely that we had a business before we wasted any restaurant owner's time in having the discussion. But the bottom line there is that what we're going to attempt is to give people the opportunity to purchase tickets and then also choose something that they'd like to eat at that particular show from a limited menu, and to have a good portion of the people who would be eating food kind of pre-ordered in that way so they could be brought over at one time with one door opening. And then we would cover, the people that didn't do that and that ordered on site. The goal, at least of the restaurant owner, would be that, perhaps we could catch maybe 80% of the people who wanted to eat up front with that order, and then the rest is, kind of an after. But I think in terms of the timing, the people who would be ordering at a similar time, because you want to get your food and, have it eaten and so forth before the music is really starting up or whatever. So I don't envision that. In no way would we have any kind of a door propped open and left open. It would be a quick delivery type of thing, whether it was through the front or the back, and we would try to limit the number of times. I don't envision it would be that many.
Okay, thank you. The gentleman from Taco Express, if you want to come ask a question.
Yes, sorry.
The people at home need to hear you.
Okay. My question is for their employees. I don't know how many they're going to have, but have they provided parking for their employees? They're going to be there longer hours. So I just want to know, have you thought of where they're going to park, or have you provided for them, or what, for their employees, your employees?
But we don't have any parking spots to provide, so the best that we can do is to direct our employees to park in an area that's a bit away from the venue. That would be our intent, so that the patrons would have the closest in spots. But, in terms of the residential and so forth, we would prohibit them from parking in residential areas. They would have to find public.
The village has actually implemented an employee parking area where we've got designated parking for downtown business employees, and it's a permit process.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Erickson, I do have a question for you. I was in attendance at a Park District meeting in October where you made your presentation to the Westmont Park District. Mm-hmm. And at that time, you alluded to you were having trouble raising funds for buying the old theater.
It wasn't actually buying, it was
raising the cash for whatever.
To make it work, correct.
Are you in a position now where are you a viable, if I might ask, John? Is it?
Yes, it's a valid question.
Are you a viable entity to go into this venue?
In this venue, yes. It's bottom line is it will require far less in terms of construction and in building out the venue the way that we need it. And we also have a willing partner in terms of the landlord, in terms of their willingness to participate in the cost.
All right, that was my only question. Any further questions from the board? Last chance for anybody in the public. Would you care? Any last comments? Okay,
well, I do have one last question. As far as the capacity of this building, the fire code, as far as the number of people in this building at any one point in time, is that something that will be brought in front of the village board by the fire department?
No, that's already set. We've got codes that address occupancy limits, and it will be posted as part of the
because everybody keeps mentioning 300, but I'm wondering if it has the capacity for 300, just looking at the size.
So where we came up with that number is we worked with an architect at the old space, 25 South Cass, which was 6,600 square feet, and the maximum occupancy per code at that venue was going to be about 500.
Okay.
So what we did was scale it back to a 5,000 square foot
So
space.
you've already looked at that. Okay. That was my only concern.
The reason I'm not giving an exact number is because we just scaled it like that. We have not had, the architect.
It's 275, it's fine. If it's 300, it's 300. Okay. That was my only comment.
Okay. We need readings of the findings of fact for a special use permit. May we have that, please?
Criteria number 1, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. All operations will be conducted completely indoors. The sale of alcohol will only occur pursuant to a duly issued liquor license and any special conditions associated therewith imposed by the liquor commissioner. The live entertainment will not appeal to prurient interests or constitute adult-only entertainment. As a result, the proposed use will not endanger the public health, safety, or welfare. Criteria number 2, the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. All operations will be conducted indoors, and this use is not expected to generate adverse light, noise, odors, or vibration which would impact adjacent properties. Criteria number 3, the establishment of the special use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted in the district. The surrounding area is fully developed, and this use will occur in an existing tenant space. Criteria number 4, adequate utilities, accessways, drainage, and/or other necessary facilities have been or are being provided. The property is currently served by all necessary utilities, accessways, and other facilities. Criteria number 5, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. The property is served by public sidewalks, and ample public parking exists during the proposed peak hours of operation. Criteria number 6, the special use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located, except as such regulations may in each instance be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendation of the Plan Commission. The proposed use will comply with all codes and ordinances of the village, except that variances are requested for off-street parking and for the required setback from a school. Criteria number 7, the proposed use meets the special conditions of Special Condition 2. The proposed use shall not cause appreciable traffic congestion or hazard to pedestrian safety. Existing public sidewalks will provide for pedestrian safety. There is ample public parking in the media area during weekends and evenings when the proposed use is expected to have live performances occur.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. The findings of fact for a special use are hereby adopted and approved. Under Planning and Zoning, item 12046, item A, I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Item A special use permit request to operate a performing arts studio and live entertainment venue with an associated tavern in the B1 Limited Business District.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pill, seconded by Commissioner Fleet. Question on the motion? A roll call, please.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas? Yes. Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. Okay. We need a reading of the findings of fact for a zoning code variance for item B.
Criteria number 1, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it is located. The property contains an existing building with no associated off-street parking. The applicant is not expanding the existing building and did not self-create this hardship. A parking variance would be necessary for virtually any business that intends to utilize this property. Criteria number 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The applicant did not self-create this hardship as he intends to utilize the existing building which contains no off-street parking stalls. Criteria number 3, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The proposed use is consistent with the surrounding retail, office, and restaurant uses in the B1 Limited District, most of which do not have sufficient off-street parking for their customer needs. There is ample public parking available in the evenings and weekends when performances will occur. As a result, this variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement. Therefore, the findings of fact for a variance are hereby approved. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Item B, zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Van Buren, seconded by Commissioner Fidesco. Question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Van Buren votes yes. Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas? Yes. Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
And Chairman Richard?
Yes. And may we have a reading of findings of fact for a zoning code variance request to permit a tavern within the required 1,000 feet separation from a school?
Criteria number 1, the property in question cannot yield a reasonable return if permitted to be used only under the conditions allowed by the regulations in the district in which it is located. Alcohol sales will be accessory and complementary to the primary purpose of operating a theater/live entertainment venue. As such, this property will not constitute a standalone tavern. Applicant could not operate its proposed business in this location or many other B1 district locations without this variance. Criteria number 2, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances. The sale of alcohol will be accessory and complementary to the primary purpose of operating a theater/live entertainment venue. The nearby school will be closed during times that shows are being performed. Criteria number 3, the variation, if granted, will not alter the essential character of the locality. The proposed use is consistent with the surrounding retail, office, and restaurant uses in the B1 limited district. Just as the service of alcohol is complementary to meals served in nearby restaurants, the service of alcohol for this business will be complementary to the primary operation of a theater.
If you agree with these findings, please raise your hand. We are unanimous in agreement in the reading of findings of fact for a variance to allow a tavern within 1,000 foot of a school. I would entertain a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Trustees. Item C, a zoning code variance request to permit a tavern within the required 1,000 foot of a school.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Pill. A question on the motion? May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Fidesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Pill?
Yes.
Commissioner Fleet?
Yes.
Mr. Van Buren votes yes, and Chairman Richard.
Yes. All right, sir, you have our recommendations, and staff can tell you when you'll appear before a committee of the whole. And ladies and gentlemen that are in the audience, I would recommend highly that you all attend the committee of the whole, where the Board of Trustees will be reviewing the final ordinance that will create or deny this. We are only giving a recommendation. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, could we get staff to address that question right now? When would this be scheduled before the board?
We believe it will be the first Thursday in January. I think it's the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, so and then, like I said, if you can put your contact information on the sheet, we can give you a call to let you know when it'll be scheduled.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
They also
Keep
publish,
checking the village's website also.
Right.
the village website puts the agendas up.
Okay, one more thing very quickly, staff. The findings of facts, which you just read, is that, can the public get a copy of that?
Yes, absolutely. It'll be part of the village board report, and I can also email it to you.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody have any further comments, questions, staff? I myself would like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, seconded by Commissioner Pill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.